I'm Hannah Clemenson. I am from White Sulphur Springs right now. Live in Helena currently though, and I am blind, visually impaired. I have been since birth, but I'm pretty cool with it at this point. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I do a lot of writing and reading, and I work at the Montana History Foundation, and I also work for the National Alliance for Mental Illness here in Helena, and I really like what I do at both places. At NAMI right now I'm kind of working on helping them revamp their website and make it a little bit more cohesive. And I'm also working on their podcast. We have a podcast where we talk about mental health issues and the like, especially like advocacy and all kinds of stuff like that. And so I do that podcast with our executive director, and it kind of makes me look dumb, but it's okay. I'm the intern, I'm not supposed to look smart. And at Montana History Foundation, I am doing some social media management and writing. I wrote a press release this week for our Montana history hikes and just trying to get people out on those, so kind of using my marketing background a little bit.
Can you tell me a little bit about going to school?
Yeah, totally. Going to school in Dominican, it's in San Rafael, and I loved it so much. I had like the best professors, and they're very like discussion based. Like you sit down, you take notes, and you discuss, and it's so wonderful. And I just felt like my mind was just expanding every day, and I love that kind of stuff. And I really didn't have that many accessibility barriers because we had a really good director of what's the word? Disability services. And yeah, I really liked it there. I did have some issues, like I was in a bunch of geography classes where you needed to have maps, and then you needed to know every single country on that map by heart. And it took them so long to make the maps that I only had a couple of weeks to study where everyone else had been studying since the beginning of the year, but I still got 100 on the test, so I just cracked down and did it. But things like that can be frustrating. And then when I was at U of M, I encountered a few more accessibility barriers because, I don't know, I just had some really rude professors there who didn't want to accommodate. And it was easier to accommodate during COVID because all you had to do was resend the file in a better format, but they wouldn't do that. And thankfully people were really nice about granting extensions, which is nice, because things just take me longer. Like scanning a document for necessary information just takes longer because you can't see where the paragraph breaks are, so you might be like scanning through line by line, and it's so frustrating. So just extra time is the thing I use most for school anyways, is the accommodation I use most.
What are those? What do you mean by scanning documents and creating maps?
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, like the maps are created by the disability department, and they like take the map and then they blow it up really big, and then they put like hot glue around the lines. And then I have to print out labels in Braille and stick them on there. And so you can tell like where the boundaries of the countries are. And then you just study that a lot. And then like scanning documents, I have a screen reader, and I listen to the document. And sometimes it's all nicely broken up so you can tell the paragraphs apart. But oftentimes it's all one big block of text, and then you're going through the text line by line because you can only listen to one thing at a time. Because when you're scanning something with your eyes, you're looking at a few things at a time, and you can see exactly where those breaks are and where bolded things are, but it's not the case when you're doing it listening. The screen reader on my phone is like, I keep it at a really high speed so that so you can digest more information in a quicker time, but also so like people can't just hear everything I'm doing because it's really hard for most people to decipher. And then, so I can do everything on my phone that most people can. I like go through Facebook and Snapchat, and I text, and I make calls, and I look at websites and watch YouTube and TikTok and all that jazz. And I mean, that's just thanks to developers who've made that accessible for me. But also thanks to like myself for learning how to master that, because a lot of blind people don't know how to use technology as quickly as I do. And a lot of disabled people don't know how to use tech as well as they could. And I think that's really sad. And I think that like learning to use the technology that we have is what's gonna set us free, you know, because even if you're like elderly, that's having a phone that you can use is the only thing that's gonna keep you from going crazy, I think. It's totally audio driven. You don't need to look at it at all. Like I have my screen turned off, in fact, it's just black.
Okay.
So like you put the phone up and then you like touch on the screen and then it tells you what you just touched, and then you move to the next item by like flicking forward or flicking backward or touching another part of the screen. So, and honestly, it goes pretty fast. Like if you're good at it, you can move through stuff pretty fast, even though it might seem tedious because you're not selecting something with your eyes, you're looking at it with your hands. I think that hiring people with disabilities can be difficult for companies a lot of times because we don't have the same skills that everyone else does. Like a lot of us might not be, I'm not saying that none of us are good with spreadsheet or Excel, but especially like blind people in particular, we're not so good with like visually presenting information as a lot of modern companies like to see it these days. And I mean, I can really only speak to blind people because I don't know the experiences of people with other disabilities, but our abilities that make us really talented workers are not so easily summed up as the abilities of, I guess, normally abled people. Like what Ona just told you, it took her a while to explain what she meant. And it would take me a long time to explain what she meant, but it makes sense. The retaining information and balancing it and reciting it, you know, all that stuff together is like a really useful ability, but you can't just put that on a resume, you know, because it's not really what you expect to see. And so I think that's like a big problem for disabled people trying to find work, is just that our abilities are very complex, but that doesn't mean that they're less. It makes me really sad that a lot of employers won't take a chance on a person with disabilities, but I mean, I think that's why services like Aspen Services are so necessary. And also like when the state like funds work experiences, it gives employers like a chance to see what a disabled person is capable of without, I mean, it just really breaks a barrier down in terms of, should we hire this person? Well, now we can for a little while and see if they benefit our company. And though some of those may end up being failed, or, you know, because the employer can't take the person on because they're not capable of what they wanted to do, or because of like just payroll issues, has happened to me. But it just really eliminates a barrier in terms of, can we take a chance here and see if this person is capable of doing what we need done here. I'd say for work goals, I've had so many different ideas of what I wanted to do. I remember when I was in kindergarten and you do your kindergarten graduation, you know, and they ask you to come up and say what you want to do when you grow up. And I said, I want to be Taylor Swift and a veterinarian and a farrier to shoe horses like my dad, which is really funny. And it's kind of like been the same way ever since. Like there's a lot of things I want to do. I would love to just go down a music path and just be a singer-songwriter and make albums and go tour. That's like a huge dream, but like I know that might not be in the cards for me. So I'm really into journalism as well, and my coworkers at NAMI have talked me into thinking about like going into venture capital, which is where you like find new cutting edge businesses and then invest in them and then teach them how to be better businesses. And I think that's all really, really interesting because I love small business and like I love cutting edge technology and incorporating those two things together and making these small little one-person ventures into really mighty, advanced, and useful things. And then at the same time, like I'm really into like refugee issues, and I really want to be like an Arabic translator. And so I really want to go to one of the Middle Eastern nations next summer and learn how to do that. But I'm kind of struggling because they don't seem to have a very cohesive concept of Braille over there. So that's still in the cards, hopefully. But yeah, I have a lot of work goals, and I'm interested in a lot of things. But all of them really involve like people, whether I'm performing or helping, and just making society better, whether it's with my music and bringing people joy or actually physically helping people one-on-one, you know. A lot of people are really nervous about people with disabilities. Something that I read a while ago is that when you're disabled, especially in a very visible way, like, I mean, me, but also people in wheelchairs and people with other like very visible disabilities, you lose so much of your identity. Like, you maintain your gender and that's about it. You barely maintain your race. A black blind person is the same as a white blind person in a lot of instances, and I see my black friends talking about that a lot. And you lose your sex appeal, you lose you lose your ability to be like a cool person who people would want to hang out with because they see the disability more than anything else about you. Like, if I'm walking around with a guitar, I'm a blind person far before I'm a musician, or, you know, anything like that. And I think that that's really sad because people with disabilities are just as much people as anyone else is, and we have a lot of interests and we have a lot of unique things about us, and a lot of us are like way more unique than most normal people because we have to be, because we have to find interests and stuff because we can't just go out and do things like everyone else. So we have really cool interests, a lot of us, we have cool hobbies, and a lot of us like to talk about them and we don't really get the chance to. So I just wish that we could shatter that idea that we're disabled before we're people, because we're all pretty cool. And I wish that people would give us a chance. We're dateable, we're likable, we are good friends. Not umbrella, not in terms of like everyone, but I mean just as much as anyone else is.